For now, things are looking up because here to talk ceilings is Kimberly Seldon. All right, Kimberly, I suspect that ceilings are maybe one of the last priorities for many of us because it's just that place where, you know, it's up there and you don't really think about it. So what do we need to think about and consider?
You need to think about every designer who comes into a room and says, oh my God, that ceiling is a disaster.
Right.
Like they can't be a last priority. The ceiling is as big as any wall, sometimes bigger. It's like having a pair of shoes that don't work, right?
Now I understand you.
Right.
I feel you.
I would think the number one thing that people make the mistake of is just assuming it's got to be a white ceiling.
Yeah.
White can be an amazing ceiling. If you have white walls, white ceiling, lots of sunlight, oh, stunning, right?
Yes.
Or a color like this that's kind of that mid-tone blue-green. White can be very fresh. But when don't you want white? Let's say you've got that ceiling, you've got dated pot lights, you've got a carbon monoxide, you've got a smoke detector, you've got like a stereo speaker from 1972 that's just never been moved, right? And those things are like silver and gray. In that case, you really don't want to highlight them or make a contrast out of them.
Right.
So you probably choose a color that would blend in and kind of make them visually disappear a little bit more. You could choose a color that's a little bit darker than white and not as dark as the walls. Or you could even just take the wall color all the way up.
Which is a beautiful way to do it,
It's
right?
really nice, and if you have 8-foot ceilings, simplifies everything.
Yes.
Just don't worry about it otherwise.
Now, what should be the goal then when you're dealing with ceilings?
Well, it depends. Some ceilings are worth really noticing. You might have a ceiling that's got coffered or cove on it. So in that case, it's really worth noticing. If you've got, 10-foot ceilings and you've got a beautiful cove, and a cove, of course, is where the wall and the ceiling kind of meet softly together.
Yep.
A coffered is where you see more like grids.
Yes.
Sometimes they're very deep, sometimes they're very shallow. This is just big box store trim turned into a coffered ceiling. So even a white on white, you get a lot more texture, you get a lot more interest, if you will.
I love that look.
I love that look too, and it speaks to the order that, I need symmetry and order, and like everything has to be in a row.
Yeah.
So it works if you're able to make the rest of the ceiling comply. But if things are all over the case, it can highlight the fact that things aren't quite organized.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to like draw the eye to the stuff that you don't want people to be looking at. So you've got a lot of exciting things with ceilings. I already think that's exciting, but you have even more exciting.
See, I told you ceilings were exciting.
They're
the audience
exciting.
today is like ceilings, and I'm like, this is amazing stuff.
Right.
Yeah, this is exciting. This is styrofoam.
Okay.
Now, back in the old days, we had to
Light.
make beautiful features on the ceiling out of plaster, and it was a very expensive and labor-consuming job.
Can you hold up this heavy
is
sheet yourself? You got
right?
it?
Like you can just stick it up with tape, probably.
So
and
good.
I was skeptical at how it would turn out, but look, once it's painted, it looks like drywall. So really inexpensively, again, big box store, you could turn a plain ceiling into something much more interesting with styrofoam or plastic. And this one gives us a big tray.
That's beautiful.
So this is going to look like a really expensive treatment. And again, you want to have at least a 10-foot ceiling to do something like this.
Right.
But this is really great. Again, easily paintable.
When you see, I was going to say, when you see a light texture like this, to me, it just screams easy installation. And that's all I care about. Like, make it easy to install.
Right.
And it's going to stay up there. It's not going to fall on anyone's head.
Easier still if you hire someone to install it.
I absolutely would do that.
Which is what I would do.
I'm like calling someone to change light bulbs.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about lighting.
You mentioned lighting.
Yes.
So lighting is a matter of fact. All ceilings have light, and so you want to have it to be organized on the ceiling, of course. But if you're doing something new and you have the possibility of something more interesting, it can be really beautiful to create a channel for your pot lights to make it look a little bit more modern, a little bit more sleek. This one, we've created a dark gray channel, so it just sinks in. Ideally, the pot light would be black, so it just kind of disappear completely, and then the ceiling can be whatever color that you want. But it's a way of creating that linear lighting focus that is so sharp looking when you have a modern space.
Beautiful. I find the one at the end there pretty exciting as well. So what's happening over there?
How exciting is it?
Wallpaper.
Okay. Well, today's wallpaper day.
It's wallpaper.
Adrienne was here. She was talking about wallpaper. So I will often choose a wallpaper for a ceiling.
Nice.
Now this one, you'll see that there's a seam, And that's intentional. From time to time, we'll do a beautiful paper and we'll cut it into shapes and then apply it on the ceiling. Okay. And it just makes it more interesting. The pattern doesn't have to match. It's much easier to install.
Yeah.
And of course, that's going to create kind of a big statement. Again, you're going to want to make sure whatever you have on the ceiling is organized. And then you have options. You could paint the wall and just have the ceiling be wallpapered, or you could do what we have done here and you add a little bit of wallpaper down the wall, and we've got a nice big piece of crown or cove light and some lighting behind it. So that creates kind of a fake cove.
That's pretty
once
sexy.
that lighting hits it.
Yeah, that's
it's
lovely.
really dramatic and not terribly expensive, not an expensive treatment, so really worthwhile.
Beautiful. Last but not least, you've got some sparkles there. What do you suggest?
You know, I was looking at wallpaper, and sometimes it can be fairly pricey, right? Wallpaper. But what isn't fairly pricey is
Wrapping paper?
gift wrap. So now, I'm not suggesting this would be for everyone, but if I had a tiny little jewel of a powder room, this would look amazing on the tray of the ceiling.
Yes.
A little girl's room, there are stripes, there are medallions, there are all over leaves, patterns, birds, anything you could possibly want. And gift wrap is like $10 a roll.
Oh my gosh, yeah, way cheaper.
Right?
If that works for wallpaper, sign me up. And a lot of the wrapping papers are coming with a lot more integrity.
That's right. And
they're thicker.
Exactly. And you just use a little bit of wallpaper adhesive or even a double-sided tape would work.
Oh, now you're speaking my language.
Right?
I want that in a jumpsuit. So it's like, I want like the sparkle shirt we can put on the wall, but I also want that in a dress or a jumpsuit. That's very nice. Kimberly, thank you so much.